I really shouldn't do this, but I got no choice. In my last video, I touched upon white-owned media websites cranking out the anti-black propaganda. Naturally, NBC's duplicitously named The Grio came up on my radar. These guys have never had anything good to say about black men, and this latest salvo was no exception. But this time they went so far over the edge, I had to check myself to see whether I was still on planet Earth. Well, I am, though I'm not sure where these guys are. Black male privilege. Are you insane? That is a total contradiction in terms. Black men are the first to be arrested, first to be convicted, last to be paroled, and the last to be hired. Black men die from stress-related maladies far earlier than black women and are the victims of violent crime on a scale that black women can't even imagine. Black male privilege is the kind of crazy talk black feminists like to do when they scapegoat black men for our people's condition. Now, the guy who wrote this litany of lies is clearly panty-begging for some easy drawers, and as we all know, the fastest way to get this generation of females into bed is to just tell them what you know they want to hear. By the way, ladies, a real man leads his woman. If he's patronizing her, then he's following her lead. This guy is not a real man. In fact, he's not a man at all. Unfortunately, he is what black women want today. The problem in black society is that black men are not in charge of our community. We are a full-fledged matriarchy, which is just another way of saying failure. This is because women don't build. That's not meant to be nasty, it's just a fact. And this is why we are fighting a losing war for our survival. What we need is a righteous resurgence of black masculinity. I'm talking about steel-spined, rock-ribbed, iron-jawed, fire-breathing men. And that brings us to the first point of black female privilege. The black woman's heaven is the black man's hell. 45 years ago, black women discovered their inner slut and have been flying through life with their legs wide open ever since. This behavior, coupled with their choosing to reject black male leadership, resulted in an entire generation of black women being single mothers with no support. This was the fall of black America. But that's okay, because white males came to the rescue in the form of a handful of token corporate jobs and a ton of government jobs. And when that wasn't enough, they created a mountain of government programs: welfare, food stamps, WIC, SSI, Section 8 housing, all available almost exclusively to black women. A disproportionate number of black men in jail today are there because a black woman informed on them, accused them of a crime, or got them for child support. Then these same black women have the nerve to join white America in the refrain that so many black men are in jail. Oscar Grant is handcuffed and murdered in front of hundreds of observers. Amadou Diallo is gunned down for showing his wallet. Marquise Hudspeth is murdered for having a cell phone. These men never laid a finger on a cop, but the very fact they were black men cost them their lives. Meanwhile, black women are free to attack the police as a gang, and all they get is arrested, not murdered. To be an honorary member of the oppressor class. That's black female privilege. 50% of black women over age 19 have an STD. 70% are single, 80% are overweight or obese, but 100% of them say not all black women are like that. That's black female privilege. Speaking of STDs, black women have made a culture out of being fast in the ass. They think risky sexual behavior is cute, so they seek out thugs and criminals who have been in and out of prison where they've gotten STDs. This is why the STD rate among black women is more than double what it is among men. Yet black women are allowed to get away with inventing fairy tales about an epidemic of down-low black men who are getting all these innocent virgin black women diseases. And whenever anyone points out that black women lead the league in STDs, we all have to pretend that we don't know why this is. That is black female privilege. Black women can engage in any level of self-hate they want, and they are praised for it. That's black female privilege. Kim Kardashian has been seriously involved with 4 men, all but one of them black. She has had 1 child by 1 man, the one she's with now, who is her husband. But Kim is a total slut. Halle Berry has been involved with numerous men: a Chicago dentist, Dave Justice, Christopher Williams, Wesley Snipes, Eric Benet, Michael Ealy, Gabriel Autry, and most recently Oliver Martinez. She's been married 3 times, 4 if you consider her common law marriage with Autry. Speaking of which, Autry was one of Berry's 2 baby daddies. Oliver Martinez is the father of baby number 2. You know, 60% of black women who have multiple children got them by multiple fathers too. But Halle Berry is considered a class act, not a slut like Kim Kardashian. That's black female privilege. A black man who can't afford to support his children is a deadbeat dad who gets thrown in jail and is denied the right to see his own children. A black woman who can't afford to support her kids gets automatic sympathy. Then she gets a free government check and housing, which enables her to have more children she can't afford. Bastard babies on the taxpayer's dime. That's black female privilege. Black female privilege means never having to say you're sorry. A black man with no job is a loser. A black woman with no job is the backbone of the community, especially if she has a lot of kids. That's black female privilege. A black man with STDs, multiple children by multiple women, no job, bad manners, and delusions of entitlement is called worthless. A black woman with all those things is called a queen. No matter how bad a shape she's in, a black woman is always considered a great catch. Just ask Usher. And the first time things don't go her way, or the instant she decides she's bored and blows up the marriage, well, it's automatically his fault. That's black female privilege. Black women call a good man boring and then say that's why they choose to have children by thugs and losers, as if it justifies that kind of a stupid choice. You know, we don't let children get out of their homework just because they say it bores them, nor do we let grown men get out of working for a living because they say their job bores them. But all black women have to do is say good guys bore them, and society trips over its own feet to blame the good guys and not all these bad girls. That is black female privilege. A man who doesn't meet black women's absurd demands is told by black women that he needs to man up. But black women are never told to be a woman. In fact, there's no standard for what constitutes black womanhood at all, so every black woman pats herself on the back for being a real woman, whatever that is. That is black female privilege. President Obama stood in a church and lied through his teeth that all the bastard black babies were solely created by black men, when in fact we all know that 80% of the women are getting themselves knocked up by only 20% of the men. But he, the most powerful man on the planet, was terrified to tell black women this simple truth. Instead, he gave the same old pandering speech telling black women their favorite lie, that black men are the reason we have so many illegitimate babies, and nobody, absolutely nobody in the media said a word to the contrary. That's black female privilege. Black men have to be 3 times more qualified than everyone else to get a halfway decent job, to get into a mediocre college, or even to get a loan. All a black woman has to do most of the time is just show up. That's black female privilege. Black female privilege is when corporate America puts its power behind propaganda campaigns geared towards telling you only what you want to hear. Hollywood studios put out movie after movie meant to make you feel better about every rotten choice you keep making. You see, puff pieces like the one the Griot ran are put on mainstream corporate-funded websites. When the broadcast media runs a story about single black women, they have black women, white men, or white women report the story. Never a black man. The only time anyone challenges this are on private websites or social media platforms like YouTube. No corporate money here. They promote what black women want to hear and censor what black women don't want to hear. When those who shape the culture help you psychologically masturbate, that's black female privilege. Every time black people get together, nobody mentions how black boys have been utterly eradicated from the school system. Meanwhile, if someone even whispers, "Black girls rock," we all have to stand up and cheer, even though we don't know what we're cheering for. That's black female privilege. When a pastor in church ignores the bastard children in his pews, ignores the fact that most of his congregation are single mothers, ignores the pregnant teenage daughters he sees, ignores how the women come into the house of God still wearing the same clothes they'd had on at the club a few hours earlier, when he twists every verse in the Bible to make it seem that God himself co-signs black women's whorish behavior, that is black female privilege. Black women control the vast majority of black households, yet they give the black families money to people who hate us, and worse than that, they start no businesses. But no one ever blames them for our being impoverished. That's black female privilege. If a black man marries an ordinary white woman, it's because he's a sellout who is deliberately passing over all these good black women out here. A black woman marries an ordinary white man, and she's a strong, independent woman who is justifiably exploring her options because there's no good black men. That's black female privilege. And speaking of money, black men earn more weekly than black women, yet all we ever hear is how black women earn more than black men in some cities. And the media repeats this nonsense as if there was something valid about it. That's black female privilege. When a black child commits a crime, nobody ever asks where his mother was. That's black female privilege. And on the off chance that somebody does, all she has to say is, "The daddy abandoned me," and no one will ever ask whether the father truly ran off or whether she got the cops and the courts to run him off. That's black female privilege. A black woman supports the genocide of black babies, and she's a hero for black women. Black women do ghetto gagger videos degrading themselves beyond all human belief, and nobody says a word. That's black female privilege. But perhaps the worst aspect of black female privilege is that you can deny having it. Black women have been so coddled and supported by white power that today they can honestly say that their biggest problem in life isn't that they're black, but rather that they're female. No black man has ever or could ever say that. No black man has ever had the luxury of being able to escape his color, not for 1 second, even in his own imagination. But now pretty much every black woman in America has. The worst thing you can be in American society is black, but today black women have the privilege of being able to deny they're privileged. Only one other group in America can say that: white males. They know their gender victimhood is more or less a lie, but they also know white power has been their lifeline. Black women have carried water for white power for 5 decades now, so they know, even if only instinctively, that they can't stop now. Where would they be without all those white government programs, or those token corporate jobs white men gave them? As an example, remember that Nightline ABC hit piece that came out years ago? Lindsay Davis told lie after lie about how black women were just so successful, and she used these 4 black women to do it. Out of the 4 women she profiled, 2 of them worked for the government, and none of them owned their own business. They all worked for white men in some capacity or another. She also tells a total bald-faced lie, where she tries to make it sound like black men as a group are almost totally unsuitable for marriage.
Let's take 100 black men. If you eliminate those without a high school diploma, those without a job, and the number of black men between the ages of 25 and 34 who are incarcerated, that leaves only about half of black men eligible to pop the question.
There goes that black female privilege again. Where is it written that a woman can't pop the question? Ladies, it is exactly this perverted sense of entitlement that is the reason men aren't asking your hand in marriage. Somewhere along the line, you took up this attitude that black men owe you something. Well, I got news for you. Black men don't owe you anything. In fact, you're the ones who owe us. This is the 21st century, and it's way past time you started doing your fair share of the marriage proposals. After all, as the Bible says, you have not because you ask not. But there's a lot else wrong with Lindsay Davis's propaganda piece. But she doesn't eliminate the black women who are in prison, have STDs, are lesbians, already have children, have no education, no job, are overweight, or have a stank attitude. The truth is, it's black men who have few prospects when it comes to marrying inside their race. As a black woman, reality is optional, so you can choose to believe whatever you want because you're insulated from the consequences of your actions and from any criticism. When you fail, somebody else is forced to pick up the tab. When you screw up, you get praised. Tell a lie and the media will repeat it as though it were gospel truth. When you hurt the community, somebody else gets blamed. Society, the media, and the political establishment have decided to give you a pass on everything for life. As a result, your entire community becomes a living human sacrifice on the altar of your vanity. Meanwhile, you're smiling, having sex with lowlifes, and telling yourself that you're God's gift while your own children die all around you. You don't know how much damage you've done, and even if you did, you wouldn't give a damn. That is black female privilege.